Welcome to Loup TV. I'm your host, Gene Munster, joined today by Richard Price. We'll get to a minute why Richard is joining us today. But I want to start with the foundation of today's episode, which is content is king. I've spoken in the past about getting into the investment industry in the mid-90s. The first report that I wrote was the content continuum. Content is king. And here we are, MGM and what Amazon are coming. That is a big transaction. But the importance of content isn't just Hollywood generated. There is a powerful pieces of content that are starting to make it more mainstream. And that's when we bring in Richard, who is the founder since 2008 of Academia. Academia helps get papers from the ivory tower into everyday person's hands. Welcome, Richard. And that was my, I guess, synopsis of what you're doing here around a new flavor of content. I'd like to hear in your words how you describe what the company is doing.
Yeah, so great. Thanks for having me on the show, Gene. It's great to be here. So the platform, Academia, is the largest platform for sharing academic research in the world. About 23 million papers have been uploaded by faculty members, and about 16 million people come every month to download those papers. And the 16 million people are faculty members, students, professionals, and the broader narrative of what academia is doing is to accelerate research itself and to democratize access to research. Those are the two things.
Okay. Now, when we think about the improving access to research, maybe can you back up the clock a little bit and talk about before Academia, how was research typically distributed?
So before Academia existed, the way it worked was that, if you were at university, you had access to all the academic papers through your library. And then when you left university, you didn't have access to any of this academic information, none of this content at all. And what the movement academia.eu is part of is this movement broadly called open access, which is the idea that, our goal as a company is that every paper ever written should be on the internet available for free. Mm-hmm. And that there should be a seamless relationship between the broader world, the 4.5 billion people who are online, and the fruits of academic research.
So maybe if I can interrupt before we explore that, looking at kind of how it's done, it used to have to be attending a certain university, and in your case, you went to possibly the most distinguished of universities for your master's, undergrad master's or master's at Oxford?
Yeah, undergrad, master's, and PhD, actually.
Okay, so that's probably a whole nother Loup TV right there, just trying to hear about what that whole experience was like. We'll save that for later. That is impressive. And as you're part of this, so back before Academia, you are there at your institution of your higher level institution of choice. And there's also these trade journals, right? And how do they kind of fit into this whole sequence?
Yeah, so the journals used to be the predominant way in which research was disseminated from authors who are writing it to people who are reading it. And so the way it worked was that you'd write a paper, submit it to a journal, and it takes about 12 months to get it peer reviewed and published. And then once it's published, it then has to be distributed to the world at large. And that can take another 12 to 24 months to actually for it to hit the target audience.
Yeah. Is the information even relevant 2 years after? It feels like the shelf life would get pretty old.
Yeah, exactly. For cutting edge fields, it's a very, it slows things down a lot.
Okay.
And then in the new world, you can upload a paper and it's disseminated to the target audience in minutes, actually.
Incredible. So we have this this group of faculty that is writing. They're contributing. They can you walk through what their motivation to participate in Academia?
Yeah. So I was actually at Oxford finishing my PhD, or they call it Oxford DPhil, and I wanted to share my own papers and make them freely accessible, and that was the sort of founding idea behind Academia. And the reason for that was I wanted people to read my papers. I'd spent a lot of time polishing them, sort of dotting the I's, crossing the T's, and I wanted people to know what I've been working on. And to some degree, it's about building a personal brand, so that you're a known quantity in the field and you can make an impact. And I think other faculty members who've, people who've signed up and created profiles and uploaded papers, they feel that desire to have an impact, and that the pleasure and the rush that someone is actually interested in your research. And when we interview faculty members, they say things like, I used to publish in journals, and it would take me a year to get published, and then I'd get 17 views of my paper, and now I get uploaded in academia and I get 100 views within a week. And so just a sort of completely different experience.
I can see why that is very rewarding for these faculty. And do they, if you put yourself in their shoes, the people who are actually producing the research, the papers, are they distributed to multiple kind of online? Is academia one of several that are doing this, or how do you kind of think about yourself relative to, I guess, your competition?
There are a few other players. Academia is by some margin, probably by a factor of 3, the largest in terms of usage and monthly active users.
Okay, that's good. And do you have any metrics around growth? You talk about the 16 million monthly active users. What can you share any sense what that was a year ago?
Yeah, I mean, one metric I think that is interesting is that sort of speaks to our growth is about 100,000 people sign up to academia every day, which is a lot. The people creating accounts and getting into the network. Can
you say if that number is it a bigger number than it was maybe a year ago? The 100,000, is it smaller?
Well, over the years, I mean, the story of academia's growth is that I remember when I started the company, we would be adding, growing at a linear rate of like 38 users a day, 39, 35, and then that was back in sort of 09, 2010. And then we figured out exponential growth, and we figured out an engine. And I don't know, I mean, it probably took us like a couple of years to get to 100,000 users, and now we had about 100,000 in a day.
Incredible. I love that. And that kind of growth begs the question, if we fast forward, let's say 2, 3, 4 years from now, do you see academia being still a standalone private company? Is it part of a bigger company ultimately gets acquired, a public company? Do any of those 3 roads seem particularly appealing?
So our aspiration is to be an independent public company. And the reason for that is that we are building a new category with academia. We're redefining the relationship with the world, the 4.5 billion people online have with academic research, which was previously private to people in universities. And my view is that the best path for people creating a new category is to be an independent public company.
Well, I can say this as an institutional investor, when you say those words, creating a new category, defining a new category, that is where ears perk up. And just in terms of timing of that, is this something that should we hold our breaths for your entrance into the public markets? Is it something that's many years away? Any sense you can share on timing?
Our goal right now is sort of three-ish years away.
Okay. That'll be here before you know it. I can say this, we at Loup love research. It's in our blood, in our DNA. And we're going to spend more time, and we're going to wander around the wonderful free side of academia. And I'm sure we'll bump into a friction point that triggers us to become paying customers. And thank you for enlightening me, and also just making the world great content more accessible. And I think that whether it's high level, very geeky academic content, or content like movies, there is always going to be a place for that. And so wish you all the best of luck on behalf of Richard, Gene, and Loup TV. Bye for now.